Hello friends, my name's Alexis and welcome to my series where I'm trying to complete my yearly reading goals, and this episode is going to be about my Book of the Month books. So if you missed my end of the year TBR and kind of talking through my goals video, I will link it below, but I went into detail about the situation I'm having with Book of the Month. I have been subscribed for years at this point, 2 or 3 years, and really this year I've been finding myself skipping a lot more, and when I do order the books, I'm not reading them. So I know I talked about it in my goal video. I can't remember how many I've read at this point, but I know it was a very low number. So my goal for these episodes of the series, because I'm probably gonna have to split it into 2 because I have so many books, is to read a total of 8 Book of the Month books so I can get the yearly prize. So that brings us to today. Good morning. It is currently Sunday morning and we have a fun, relaxing morning planned. So first up, I am going on a hike this morning with Dan and a few of our friends. We got really interested in hiking this summer. I wouldn't consider most of what we did actual hikes. It was really more of like a walk through the woods for most of these. And now that it's getting colder, we wanted to take advantage of the okay weather we're having today and go on a walk before it gets snowy and too cold to do it. So we're going to a local nature preserve. I've been here before, but it's been a few years. It's always a good place to see a lot of birds, so I'm hoping to see some cool stuff. And then afterwards, we're gonna go to a coffee shop to warm up and read a little bit, which of course brings us to why you're here. You wanna hear about the books I'm reading for this video. So the book I'm going to be bringing to the coffee shop, and our first book for the video is going to be Anniebot by Sierra Greer. I did talk about this one a little bit in the end of the year TBR video, but when it first came out and was a Book of the Month pick, I actually skipped it that month because, I don't know, it didn't sound interesting to me. But afterwards, I was feeling FOMO so bad. Everybody was reading this and loving it, so I ended up ordering it as an add-on a later month. And yeah, I'm super excited to get into it. So this one is a little bit sci-fi, a little bit literary fiction. It is about a robot who starts to develop some human feelings and question her purpose, her existence, that kind of thing. It says, Anniebot was created to be a perfect girlfriend for her human owner, Doug. Designed to satisfy his emotional and physical needs, she has dinner ready every night, wears cute outfits, adjusts her libido to suit his moods. True, she's not great at keeping the place spotless, she's trying hard to please him, and she's learning. Doug says he loves that Annie's artificial intelligence makes her seem more like a real woman, but the more human Annie becomes, the less perfectly she behaves. As Annie's relationship with Doug grows more intricate and difficult, she starts to wonder, does Doug really desire what he says he wants? And in such an impossible paradox, what does Annie owe herself? It sounds like it's really gonna be a book about like self-discovery, figuring out what you want. Plus, it's very short, so it'd be really cool if I could knock off the first book of the TBR in one day. So that will definitely be the goal. That's all I have planned for now, so we're gonna get going, and I'll talk to you once I get a little bit of the ways into it. Okay, I guess this is how we're doing it. All right, so it's been a while. We got home. I finished editing a video and then I took a 2-hour nap because I was exhausted. And then since then, I've been struggling with if I want to pick this up and continue reading today. And the answer is no. No, I don't. Sorry to start this video out with a dud, but I'm DNFing. Earlier, I made it to chapter 3, 60 pages in, and I usually do like to give it between 50 and 100 pages to kind of get a feel for the book before I DNF. And with this one, I'm just really not enjoying it. In this one, we are following a robot named Annie, and she is a cuddle bunny, which is basically a sentient sex doll. She's made for this purpose. She can also be used to clean up the house for the owner. She's really just there to be a robot girlfriend. And we meet her owner, Doug, and this guy, I can't stand him. I just cannot imagine reading 200 more pages of him. He is so vile, and this book is giving me the biggest ick. So right away, we start off with a sex scene, and we're reading from the perspective of this robot, and it feels wrong. It feels gross. And I'm just not enjoying it, and I'm not going to keep reading something that I'm not enjoying. And I'm not saying that this is a bad book or that I think it's written poorly, because I've seen incredible reviews for this. A lot of people I follow have really liked this one. I just cannot get past my feelings towards Doug. And I do recognize that there's a purpose for this. She's not writing a toxic love story to make us think this is okay, right? Like, it's very obvious that Doug is a bad guy and Annie should have more rights, be treated better. I don't know. Like, I get that there's a message here, and I'm sure something's going to happen in the book. Things are going to change, but I don't think it's worth it for me to continue and get to that point. I just cannot get past the abusive relationship that she's in, and it's hurting my stomach to read it. So yeah, sorry if you love this one. I just can't do it. However, the only good thing to come out of this is that I am still going to rate it in the Book of the Month app as something I didn't like, and it will count towards my reading goal. Can you stop biting me? Oh, it feels a little bit like cheating. Whatever, I'm using it. Which brings us to our next book. I am going to be starting The God of the Woods by Liz Moore. Basically right now, I'm gonna read a little bit before I get into bed. All I know about this one is that it was a Literally Dead book club pick that I missed out on earlier in the year, and I believe it's about a kid that goes lost at a summer camp. I really enjoy camping books, and I'm in the mood for a good thriller. So I'm just hoping this one's better than Anniebot, and we can actually finish a book for this video. A little different, and I'm coming to you from the bathroom because I'm about to dye my hair, but I also have a reading update. So I thought we'd do them at the same time because it's getting late and I'm running out of time. I am keeping my hair the same color. I'm just touching it up because the blonde is starting to come through on my ends. They are much lighter than when I first dyed them. And then reading wise, we switched gears this morning because I needed an audiobook to listen to while I was working, and The God of the Woods wasn't available from the library. So I noticed that Starling House by Alex E. Harrow was available, and actually my loan expires tomorrow at 9 a.m. So that's what I decided to start. That's what I have been listening to all day, and I've now made it to the 50% mark, and it's what I'm going to continue listening to while I do my hair. So before we get too much farther and I finish it, I should probably check in and let you know what's going on. So in this one, we are following a woman named Opal and her obsession with this house, specifically the Starling house, as you probably could have guessed. The house is kind of like its own character, just like is pretty normal in a Gothic story. So we find out that Opal has been dreaming about this house. She just feels really drawn to it. She passes it on her way to work. And one day she just can't resist. She ends up walking up to the gates and she cuts her hand. She has never seen anybody go in or out of this house before until this day when she is bleeding on the gate and this really creepy guy shows up and he basically like grabs her hand and threatens her and is like, you need to leave now, run. And so she does that. And she's telling herself, I'm never gonna go back there. I got this really bad feeling, blah, 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 until a week goes by and she's still dreaming about this house. Like, she literally cannot sleep. She cannot get this house out of her mind. So she decides to go back. So upon going back, things are much different. We find out that creepy guy, he is the owner and the heir of Starling House. He's the last surviving Starling. His name is Arthur. And his mother is, or was, a really famous author. She wrote this children's book and then she disappeared very mysteriously. Like nobody really knows what happened with her death. So yeah, Arthur is the last surviving Starling and he just kind of stays shut up in this house all the time. So of course there's a lot of rumors about the house. It's kind of like the town urban legend, like kids dare each other to go like touch the house, all that stuff. So we get to the part where Opal decides that she is going to go back to the house. I don't know why. And she ends up going up and knocking on the door and she makes up some lie that she's an architect student, so she wants to take pictures of the house. I think it has to do with she's been dreaming about going inside the house and like these doors and she feels like she has to find something. So I think that's her plan, is she wants to get into the house. And this time around, Arthur is like a completely different person. He's like being really nice to her. So like, I was a bit confused because I wasn't sure if they were the same person. Like, why was he like telling her to run for her life and never return one night? And now things are completely different and maybe it'll get explained. So yeah, this interaction goes a lot better than the first one. Arthur offers her a job actually to be the housekeeper for Starling House. So like she doesn't even have to come up with an excuse. She's literally invited inside. And like it's a kind of a creepy situation because right away she's like, no thank you, I have a job. And he's like, but I'll pay you, name your price. And she like says this like ridiculous, way too much sum of money, thinking like he's not gonna go for it. But then he does, like no questions asked. And then we kind of get switched to his internal monologue and he's like, this is barely what we owe her. And like, it's very clear that something else is going on that we don't know about. Like she has some connection to this family, to this house, and they owe her. So I don't know what that's about, but I'm happy to see that this is kind of more of a mystery than I was thinking it was going to be. Going into it, I thought it was going to be kind of like a whimsical fantasy, a little bit like the Once and Future Witches. But yeah, I'm kind of enjoying the mystery aspect of it. I'm curious to see what's happening, what this connection to the house is. It's obviously calling to her. So far, at the 50% mark, we've just been following her day to day. She's been cleaning, she's been just getting to know the house. And then this weird thing has happened where this woman in a business suit like stops her one day on the road and is like offering to pay her for like secrets from the Starling house. So I'm a little confused there on what's going on, like what she's really looking for. I don't know if I just wasn't listening when they mentioned it, or maybe we don't know yet. I'm just very interested to see what's going to happen next. The other thing is we didn't really get a physical description for Arthur Starling, but in my head, and like I think he's supposed to be attractive, like I'm kind of getting like romancy vibes between him and Opal. But in my head, he's literally Riff Raff from the Rocky Horror Picture Show, like the weirdest looking dude you can picture. So if this turns into a romance, it's gonna be very hard to divorce that image in my head. So I think before I get my hands too messy, I'm gonna switch over to the audiobook again. And yeah, it's due tomorrow at 9 a.m. So we have to finish it tonight. But since it's already 9 o'clock and I'm just now dyeing my hair, I think we'll be up for a little while still. Hello, good morning. I did not end up finishing Starling House last night. I fell asleep at about the 75% mark. So that's unfortunate. But good news, I went to place a hold this morning for the audiobook to get it back, and it was available. So whoever it went to next, I guess, decided to skip and not take their hold. So I love when that happens. So yeah, I'm going to get back into that now. I'm signing into work right now. So there was this really cool scene where we really learned a lot more about the house, about the history, the lore, kind of what Arthur's role is there, what Opal's connection is. And then there was a very cool scene where we learned more about the children's book that was written. It's all about, it's actually giving me like, what is that one called? Like Spiderwick? Is that what it's called? The children's book is a lot like that, where it's about these magical creatures, but we're starting to find out that maybe the creatures aren't fictional. Maybe Starling House has some sort of magic where these creatures exist. That was a really cool, like, action-y scene. It actually got a little bit like horror fantasy for a minute there. And then unfortunately, it got right back into the repetitive, boring cycle of Opal gets yelled at by Arthur to leave the house. She leaves. Time passes. She comes back and he's like, okay, yeah, you can help me. And then he yells at her to leave again and she leaves. Like, that keeps happening and I'm annoyed by that. I feel like this book could be shorter if we didn't have that, or like you could just like have more stuff happening. So I'm gonna get back into it now and I hope it gets more exciting. And yeah, I'll let you know. It's been a few days now, but I have some exciting reading updates. So first up, I did indeed finally finish Starling House by Alex E. Harrow. And the last update I gave you was that something exciting had happened and then it was kind of going downhill again. It was a little boring. It was a little repetitive, and unfortunately it kind of kept up that momentum for the rest of the story. I decided to give this one a 3-star rating. It was really just fine. Nothing too exciting or mind-blowing happened. The ending was kind of boring to me, and I was honestly only half paying attention to the audiobook. So with this being my second Alex E. Harrow that I haven't really enjoyed, I'm thinking this author just might not be for me. But the good things about this one was the Gothic setting was really, really good. I'm usually a big fan of Gothic novels, but I don't know, just something about this one, like, it just wasn't enough to keep my attention, but it gave me a lot of the same vibes. The Starling House was definitely like its own character. There were mysteries, all that stuff. A romance was introduced as I was expecting. I literally could not have cared less about that. And yeah, I just don't think we got a very satisfying reveal at the end. That's my thoughts on that. I will be rating this with the smiley face because I liked it, I guess. I didn't hate it and I didn't love it, so middle of the road there. And yeah, just excited to check off another one of the books from our list. Which brings us to the next book I have made progress on, and that is The God of the Woods by Liz Moore. I actually have to read the synopsis and remind myself what's a spoiler and what's not, so one moment. Okay. So in this one, I have now made it to page 230, which is in the middle of chapter, they're not numbered, hang on, part 5, Found. So I made some pretty good progress and I read most of this yesterday. Yeah, I think I read probably about 200 pages yesterday, so that's really exciting from being in this slump lately to be able to read such a big chunk of a book in one sitting. Very proud of myself there. And overall, I think I'm really enjoying this one. It's keeping my attention. I'm intrigued to keep going. This one has a lot of like shifting points of view. So, and I'll go into each part. I've been taking notes and everything. So like we'll be reading from one point of view, say it's from Tracy, and then it'll switch to Alice. And I'm like, ugh, I just want to keep hearing from Tracy. But then we'll go to Alice's, and by the end, I'm like, no, give me more of Alice. Like each chapter is kind of leaving us on like a question, a tiny bit of a cliffhanger. So it makes you keep reading because you want to get back to that person's perspective to get the answer to what we just found out. It's doing a really good job at that. So yeah, let me go through each part and what we have found out so far. So in this one, it takes place at a summer camp in the 70s, and we are mainly following the disappearance of a girl named Barbara. And she is actually the owner of the summer camp's daughter. So her mom's name is Alice, and we're getting her perspective and all that stuff. But the weird thing is, this isn't the first disappearance in this family. Barbara's older brother actually disappeared too when he was 8 years old in the woods around this camp. So it's just very suspicious that this is happening for the second time, and it's bringing up a lot of old memories, old mysteries and secrets in the family, and we're kind of just like uncovering them all at the same time. In part 1, the disappearance kicks off. In the very first chapter, we meet the camp counselors Louise and Annabelle, and they are the counselors who are in the cabin and responsible for Barbara, and they wake up one morning and she's gone. And in this part, it really jumps back and forth. So she disappears in August, and then it will send us back to June, like when the campers first got there and we're getting introduced and everything. And through that, we meet another camper named Tracy. And Tracy and Barbara really became friends, and we're just sort of seeing how this friendship formed, kind of what led up to Barbara's disappearance, and all that stuff. In this chapter, we also learn about a serial killer named Jacob Sluter. I hope I'm saying his last name right, but they call him Sluter. And we don't know too much. We just know that he was sent to prison for life without parole. I think he had something to do with Barbara's older brother's disappearance, and her brother's name is Bear. But we don't get too many details at the start. It's just kind of setting us up for what's to come. So then we move into part 2, where we actually learn more about her brother Bear, and we learn all about the disappearance. We learn all about their mother Alice and her introduction to the Van Leer family. They're a very, very rich, proper family. They have a certain way of doing things, and they don't take well to people who don't fit in with them. So Alice really had to change who she was to be a part of this family, and they were just very controlling all of her choices over Bear. And yeah, so we're just kind of getting a look into Barbara's family. Then we move into part 3, and the investigation into where Barbara has gone is really kicking off. We meet a detective, Judy, who is on the case. She's questioning people. We're learning that everybody kind of has a secret in this family. And then the last part I completed called Visitors, and we were back in the past with Bear. So it's really flipping back and forth. We'll get one section where it's present day, the 70s, when Barbara has gone missing, and then we'll go back in time to the late 50s, I want to say, is when Bear went missing, and we're just kind of seeing the comparisons. And with Bear, it was really treated as he was lost in the woods, he might have been kidnapped, that kind of thing. And with Barbara, we're seeing everybody's rolling it as she ran away. So I'm really excited to keep going with that. That is the plan for today, is to just read as much as I possibly can. Update before I finish it. I have now made it to part 7, Self-Reliance. Oh, this is longer than I thought, so about 100 pages left, but we'll definitely be finishing it now, I think. It's only 9:30, so I should be up a little while. 2 things. I changed to a new retainer today, and it is not fitting my teeth at all, so that's why I have a little bit of a lisp. And number 2, I just came in from letting the dogs out, so that's why my face is bright red, because I am thawing. It is really, really cold out. We're supposed to get the first snow of the year this weekend, so it definitely feels like it outside. So in part 5, which was called Found, it was a lot about Louise, who is our camp counselor, and her backstory. Right now, she is kind of like one of the main suspects. I don't think she did it, but we don't really know yet. The mystery is still unsolved at this point of the book, so that was that part. And then part 6 was called Survival, and it went back to the Van Leer family story, so cycling between present-day Barbara's disappearance and then the past chapters with Bear's disappearance. It's getting wild. I currently have 2 theories that I won't tell you. One I feel like is more believable, not that exciting, and then the second one is wild, and I would be like really happy if they went that way, but like also I don't want to disappoint myself when they don't do something that crazy. So yeah, I'm just not sure how this is going to end. I feel like we've got a few red herrings in this last part, so I think the author's doing a really good job of just like throwing us off the track. At this point, I'm still really enjoying it. I'm still flying through it. But with mysteries like this, I feel like the final reveal really makes or breaks my rating. Like, that's what we're all here for. How good is the reveal gonna be? I do have high hopes so far. I've liked everything about this, so I'm really hoping the ending doesn't disappoint me. I'm gonna have to think about this one before I give my final rating. I think I liked it. The first reveal twist we got, I didn't love. I was a little, like, if you could see my face while I was reading, I was a little, I don't know, annoyed by it. But after thinking about it a little bit, like, I guess, I don't know, I'm still annoyed, but like, yeah. And then our second reveal we got, I liked that one a lot. So I'm happy with the ending. I have a problem with something else that happened. I guess I don't know how else I would have wanted it. I don't know. I'll think about it, but right now I liked it. It was entertaining. I didn't really see some things coming, but they made sense once they were revealed, so that's always good in a mystery thriller for me. And yeah, I'll give you more thoughts tomorrow after I've thought about it. Good morning. I am just waking up and putting on my coffee, and we are very busy there. Okay, so first up, final thoughts on God of the Woods. I decided I'm gonna go with a 4-star rating. Like, it was a good thriller. It entertained me, it shocked me. Although I didn't agree with one of the reveals, like, I thought it was kind of dumb, like, whatever. It didn't, like, ruin the book for me or anything. It's just not what I would have done in that situation. So, yeah, overall, 4 stars. Would read from this author again. I was able to read it really fast. At no point did I really feel like it was dragging. Overall, I'm going to mark this one as loved it on Book of the Month, and that's one more book down. Today, the goal is to read this guy, What the River Knows by Isabel Ibanez. Not too long, and I have the audiobook, so hoping to fly right through it. And I have a lot of activities that I can listen to an audiobook while doing today. I really need to film my December reading journal setup video because tomorrow is December 1st and have not even thought about what I want to do for that yet. And then I think I'm going to finally start setting up my 2025 reading journal. I ordered it a while ago as part of Archer and Olive's Halloween collection. So like, I have it here. I'm just so nervous to get started on it because like, it has to be perfect. So while I'm doing that, I will be listening to this audiobook. I know this one has been described as like The Mummy, but make it YA. So it's been a few years since I've seen The Mummy, but I remember really loving it when I was younger. Probably watched it when I was too young because I remember some kind of scary scenes. Okay, yeah, right at the bottom, The Mummy Meets Death on the Nile. So it sounds like we're gonna have a lot of ancient Egypt in here, along with a murder mystery, maybe? This one is about a girl named Inez. She lives in Buenos Aires, and her mother and father are archaeologists in Egypt, and she learns that they have died and she has inherited their fortune. But because she's looking for answers, she goes to Cairo and discovers there's more to her parents' disappearance than what her guardian led her to believe. Okay, so we've got archaeologists in Egypt, a murder mystery aspect. It's gonna be a great time. I've made it a little bit of the ways into the audiobook, so I thought I would give you my thoughts. So far, it really just is kind of what the synopsis has told us already. So our main character's name is Inez. Her parents are archaeologists in Egypt. They left her at home with her aunt in Buenos Aires, and she just really misses them. She writes them letters all the time asking if she can go with them. She is also very interested in ancient Egypt and everything they're doing. This takes place in like the time period of The Mummy, I'm pretty sure, when everybody was kind of like making the big discoveries. I did not realize there was a map and a timeline. Cool. Yeah, what time period does this take place? 1884. Okay, so, you know, in the past. So she is treated like a woman is in this time period. She's not allowed to go anywhere without a chaperone. It's not safe for her to be in Egypt with her parents. She is 19, so that's good to point out that she's not like a child, but she's young. And then one day she gets a letter and she thinks her parents are finally going to let her go with them. And it's letting her know, it's from her uncle, I believe, that they've disappeared. Nobody knows what happened. They're presumed dead, and that she has inherited all of this money. So obviously she is heartbroken. And we have a little bit of a jump forward where she has decided, against everybody else's wishes, that she's going to go to Egypt herself and kind of look for her parents, try and figure out what happened. So she gets to Egypt and she's expecting her uncle to be like very welcoming, excited to see her, and that is not the welcome she gets. He ends up sending his assistant, Mr. Hayes, and right away he's going to be our love interest. He's like super sarcastic and snarky towards her. He's super handsome, of course, and he is right away like, you can't be here, and I was sent to get you back on a boat to go back to Buenos Aires. And it was actually a pretty funny interaction, that she is a lot more like clever and deceiving than I was expecting her to be, because she actually ends up tricking him and gets on a train herself to like go to Cairo. So that was a really fun thing. I like that she's just like not taking no. Like she doesn't really follow the standards of women at this time. Like for example, on this ship when she was traveling alone and she shouldn't have been, like she told everybody she was a widow. So yeah, she's just very smart in the way she's like planning stuff out, thinking ahead. So that's been fun. So that's where I'm at. She's on her way to meet up with her uncle, and we'll see how that interaction goes. As for my bullet journaling, I got my December plan with me filmed, so I'll have to edit that, and I will check in with you in a little bit.
I have finally left the house after many days, and we are going out to a local Taylor Swift themed romance bookstore for Small Business Saturday, so I thought I'd take you along. I don't know if I'm going to get anything. I'm still trying really hard to keep up with my book buying ban. Maybe some gifts if I can find anything. We're here, so let's go inside.
And we're back. So time for a tiny little haul. I didn't get much, but still exciting things to show you. It is freezing outside. We're like projected to get a winter storm. Not so much where I live immediately. Like we'll probably only get like few inches. But yeah, around me might be getting a lot of snow this weekend. So this is going to be our first snow of the year. I really think winter is a time where we should just hibernate and not ever have to leave the house. The weather was not the point of this update. The point is I bought some books when I shouldn't have, but I was supporting small businesses, okay? So first up, I went to the Taylor Swift themed romance bookstore. I've actually never been to them in person. I pre-ordered Onyx Storm from them because they are doing a release party, but I thought I wanted to go check them out, see if they had anything good in store. Very, very small in there. And like me and Dan were like the only customers. Like as we were checking out, one other person came in, but like I did not feel comfortable filming in there. I felt like the two employees were just like staring at me, waiting for me to pick something, but they were very nice. And I'm sure they would have been fine with me filming in there, but we're not to that comfort level yet. But anyways, I bought a book. You already saw this because I filmed the clip of me walking out. I bought the new Crowns of Nyaxia novel, The Songbird and the Heart of Stone. This is a new book in like her new series that's coming out. Duology, I'm guessing, because it says book 1 of the Shadowborn duet. I read Serpent and the Wings of Night this year and then the sequel, and wow, it just like blew my mind. It was definitely like the start to my romantasy journey. So saw it there. I know I eventually want to get the other Crowns of Nyaxia books, so I figured I might as well start the collection. And these books are just so gorgeous. Like I don't even think this is a special edition. I think this is just like what the book looks like. Oh, there's something on the back. I didn't even realize. What does it say? This is the tale of how a chosen one falls. So yeah, this series, if you don't know, it's romantasy. It's about this human girl. She was raised by vampires. She kills the bad vampires by night. She enters this competition to be granted a wish, and it's really good. The first one had the competition aspect. It had enemies to lovers. It had vampires, which I love. So yeah. Next up, I wanted to check out my favorite indie bookstore in my area. So I behaved myself. I only got one book and it's on my 12 Recs by 12 Friends list. So yeah, this is one that I will definitely be reading in 2025. I've heard great things about it. People who have similar taste in books as me really like this one. So like, I'm hopeful that I'll like it. It's so gorgeous. It's so gross. I love it. And I was just happy to see it in the store. What is this about? This is about capitalism. I know this. It's sort of like an unhinged woman type book. I think our main character just kind of gets fed up with the way she's been treated and does something about it. I just noticed there's music playing because Dan left the house and he has a habit of leaving his games on. So yeah, we've been listening to Hearthstone music in the background. So really hope I don't get any sort of copyright for that. Thanks, Dan. Hopefully it was quiet enough because I could not hear it until I stopped talking. And then one final book. I know I'm not supposed to be purchasing books, but this was a pre-order and I've already read it, so it doesn't count. The Poppy War by R.F. Kuang, the special edition got delivered. Oh my God, it's so beautiful. I think I'm definitely due for a reread of this one. When I read the first one, like I wasn't too sure how I was going to feel about it. So like I didn't really take it seriously. I didn't like tab it or annotate it or anything. So I think it'd be a fun one to go back and actually do that. Not in this edition, of course. This one is just stunning, going on the shelf, not getting touched. I know there's pictures in here. Okay, yeah. Pictures. Ah, it's so beautiful. I really hope they do the entire series in this. I have a reading update. I actually got pretty far in while we were running around. I was listening to my audiobook and I made it to 54%. Still enjoying it. Enjoyment has gone a little bit down because it's feeling pretty repetitive, but we just got a pretty cool action scene. So let me read you my thoughts about that. Since we last spoke, she met up with her uncle and he right away was like, you gotta go home. You can't be here. It's not safe, blah, blah, blah. And she again tricks him and gets away. And then like, again, he's like, no, you gotta go home. And she tricks him and gets away. And it's that repetitiveness that like I'm getting a little sick of. Like, show us once or twice, fine, but 3 times, we get it, okay? She's devious, she's smart, she's gonna get her way. Like, I like it, but you don't have to beat us over the head with it. So after that happened, we found out that her parents and her uncle's main goal now is they're trying to find Cleopatra's tomb. And she actually has a little bit of a connection to Cleopatra. I'm not sure if she's magical or Cleopatra was magical, but somehow our main character can touch items. And if they were Cleopatra, she can like see visions of like her memories, the past, something. Like she's just being pulled towards Cleopatra's items and she thinks that she is like the key to be able to find the tomb. So she really, really wants to go with her uncle to look for the tomb. And he says no, but she sneaks her way and she gets onto the ship and they've already departed. So they're stuck with her now. The scene on the ship where like people realize that she's there, that was really fun. That was very action-packed. We got a little bit of like development into the relationship because Mr. Hayes jumps in and saves her and defends her to her uncle and convinces him to let her stay on the trip. I'm just excited for them to get where they're going, to get more of like the ancient Egypt stuff in the story, and to find out more of what happened to her parents. It is getting late now. Oh my God, the TV, hang on. What a rookie mistake, forgetting to mute the TV. Who am I? Yeah, so it's getting late now, but I'm determined to finish this book today. I'm very close. I think I'm like 80-something% of the way. Hang on, we have the technology, we can check this. 84% of the way in. I have 2.5 hours left, but I'm listening on 2.5 speed, so it shouldn't be that long. Yeah, like I said, it's late. It's currently 11 o'clock, so I'm gonna have to be quiet once Dan goes to sleep and then try not to fall asleep myself. So I'll probably stay up out in the living room instead of going to lay in bed. That sounds like the smart thing to do. Thoughts so far on the book. I'm getting annoyed. I'm definitely losing interest. It just feels like this book should have ended like 3 times by now, and I can't believe it's still going and it's like this long. I'm still liking everything that's happening. It just, And like, I know there's a sequel, so maybe it's like my bias of knowing there's a book 2. Like, I'm just thinking of where I would have ended it on this one reveal we got, and everything since then I would have put into the sequel. So yeah, it's definitely brought my enjoyment down. The romance is still romancing. I don't care about it at all. We got some twists and turns. We got some deception. And honestly, I'm kind of confused because at this point, I don't know what to believe because we've been told so many things back and forth on who we should trust. Like, I guess I'm just not trusting anybody. I guess we'll see what happens with this last little bit. Maybe it'll change my mind and get better, but the hopes are not high right now. I finished. I did it. I stayed up and I did it. I left my phone in the other room. Whatever, I'm not going to get it. You know what I'm reading. We have to be quiet. That's why we're in the bathroom across the house from where Dan is sleeping. I think we're gonna go with a 3-star rating. Like, it was fine. Just not a favorite at this point. I don't really feel like I'm going to want to pick up the sequel. Things could change. I haven't seen any reviews about it, so if everybody's screaming that it's like way better than the first one, I'd be interested. Not right away, but maybe. The good things about this were the setting was really immersive. The action scenes were really, really good. Yes, I like the magic system, if you could call it that. We didn't really get a lot of answers on what that was. But again, first book in maybe a series, maybe a duology. I don't really know how many there are going to be. So I wasn't really expecting to get all of the answers in this book, but I don't know. Like I was telling you in the last update, I'm just feeling a little confused about who we're supposed to trust, which maybe we're supposed to feel that way. And I just feel like there were too many reveals and twists and turns at the end. Usually I would like that in a book, but with this one, it just felt like the author was like, how many things can we throw at the reader? Just kind of a mid-book to finish out the video, unfortunately. So that brings us to the end of the video. We successfully read 4 of the Book of the Month books that I wanted to get to this episode. Of course, number 1 was our Dnfing Anniebot. Did not like that one. Number 2 was Starling House, which was fine, not a favorite, another 3-star. Then we had The God of the Woods, which was a winner from this video. I did really, really like that one, and I would be interested in picking up more thrillers from this author in the future. And then What the River Knows is another just okay book. So at this point, it's a little hard to tell if Book of the Month is worth it. Like, it could also be that I'm just not picking the right books for myself. But yeah, we're gonna have to wait and see what the results are for the second episode to decide if I should keep my subscription or cancel it. But if you made it this far and you would like to, please leave me a tree emoji down below to represent the God of the Woods. And as always, I hope you read a good book today, and I will see you soon in episode 2 of my Book of the Month vlogs. Bye.